So, if you come to this center, your life will change. I believe your life will change for the better. One of the ways that our lives change individually and collectively is that we demonstrate prosperity, health, wholeness, and freedom, and we do it right here and right now. So, take a deep breath as we repeat our treatment for freedom together aloud. I speak my word for myself, my center, and all its members and friends. I know love as the only reality. I am created out of love. Love is what I am. I know this love as absolute freedom in every area of my life, the life of my center, and all who call it home. I know our center's mortgages are paid in full, and I claim for all of us financial freedom with all debts paid and cleared. I release any sense of struggle or wrongdoing. I live in an abundant universe where there is more than enough for all. We experience freedom in every moment by always having more than enough money, vibrant health, and loving relationships. We are who we have come here to be. With hearts open wide, we see the world through the eyes of love. We are blessed, we are rich, and we are free. And so it is. And we practice our points of power. I always pay attention. I always tell the truth and tell it quickly. I always ask for what I want when I want it. I always take total responsibility for my experience. I always keep my agreements. And so it is.
Thank you, Barbara. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Many of you noticed that Barbara and I have this routine that we do. We work here, we're at home for 8 weeks. We really don't take days off. Doesn't work for us. We live right there. So when we get up in the morning, we come over here. Exceptions to that is Barbara does some of her class prep at home, but really, we work every day. And then we take time off. We take about 10 days. Used to be smaller than that, so that we'd be here every Sunday, but I got over that. Barbara's still working on it. So we take about 10, 11 days now between those 8-week periods, and we go to the beach. I love the beach. The beach is like this mystical place for me right here, waves crashing. And I feel the warmth of the sun on my skin. And I sit in this wonderful, what is it called, a zero gravity chair, and just float with those waves. And it's so restful, and it's so renewing for me. It feeds my soul. So that's what we do. And because we have moved away from South Florida, where we grew up, and we were going to the beach down there, we found a beach that we just love. It's a national park beach near Cape Canaveral. And it's a pristine beach, no buildings in sight anywhere. And there's only about 30 parking spaces for 2 miles of beach. So there's not a lot of people. It's perfect, it's wonderful. And one thing you can do there, you couldn't do down in Miami, is you can fish there. I'm not a fisherman, but my wife loves to fish. So she set herself up to go fishing off the shore and brought out all of her gear. She got into this thing with Wayne Knight. He was providing her, must have been thousands of dollars worth of hooks and sinkers and floaters and all this stuff. And she'd take it out there and spend all this time organizing and doing all this stuff. And it was quite consuming while I laid in my zero gravity chair, renewing myself on the beach. But I could tell that Barbara had great passion about that. Now trust me, I'm not speaking for Barbara today. But I am going to talk about how expectations have flown into this idea of our lives and how it's impacted us in an interesting way. So with that, I named my talk Managing Our Expectations. You can tell something's coming up. So let me get into my academic part of this thing and share with you some ideas around expectation, because it's true that we tend to, especially in our Western culture, have desires and expectations about how our lives should be, right? Anybody fall outside of that? Of course not. That's the kind of way we do it here. However, in the East, for many centuries now, the Buddhist traditions, especially relating to Zen, have held another idea, and that is, I think my battery's dead, so you're going to follow my lead, okay? Let's see this next slide. Here we go. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. You've heard that. Well, you did have now. And it is one of the most popular quotes from Zen Buddhism. And it comes from the 6th century by a Zen patriarch, whose name I cannot pronounce. Yeah, well, whatever. No. You got to let me tell you. Okay? Thank you. You got to let me tell you, okay? Right, hands up. Hold them up there. There you go. I don't believe, I know where they're going with this. Because if you don't have any preferences, if you don't care, then you can't be disappointed, right? Expectations have this internal aspect to them that many times with our expectations we do end up disappointed. That seems to be the nature of it. Now, that doesn't mean all the time, because there are times where our expectations are revealed to us and we're delighted and life is wonderful. In fact, I think people use that as a way of thinking that's perfect. The perfection has something to do with expectations. It does not. Perfection is the outpicturing of spirit as our lives. It's the consciousness that we have reflecting to us from outside back to ourselves. That's perfection. Everything about that is perfect. So if you don't like something out there, the only place you can go and find a source for it, is at the point of view, which is cause. Not a point of my body. You know, I don't mean my body. I mean that the center of my being, that which I am, which is non-physical, is the point of my consciousness where I impress the law, and the law reflects back to me the circumstances and situations and outcomes and outpicturing of my life. That's how it works. Holmes taught us that, and he taught us well. So we know that anything that's going on there that we don't like is revealed through us, and that we are finding our way with it. It's all perfect. Yet we have these things called expectations. And we expect life to turn out that way. So I did my little, like I said, academic look at that. I guess I don't need to hold this anymore. Next slide. These are synonyms for the word expectation. Just look through this list. See what you think. Does that resonate with you? There's not much there not to like. Beautiful. So now let's look at a list of antonyms for the same word, expectation. Disbelief, distrust, doubt, hopeless. So if you were going to vote, would you vote for the left list or the right list? Of course you would vote for the left list, right? This all makes perfect sense. Except there's some other antonyms for expectation. Ouch. So now I'm thinking that my expectation is the opposite of truth, the opposite of reality, the opposite of proof. How do I do that? By having unrealistic expectations? But we have expectations. How do we know which are the reasonable ones and which ones aren't? You know, so we as religious scientists, we reach out into the world to do some amazing things. The impossible at times, the unrealistic at times, because we know that anything is possible. That when we set our minds clearly to have an outcome, that we can create it, right? So what's wrong with having these expectations, and why do sometimes we end up in a place where it hasn't been realized and we feel really not like we wanted to? How do we deal with that? How do we manage that? Let's put up the next one for a second. So, there's something to learn here. There's something that will help us along the way. And I think it was last week in Florida that I learned this. So we love to go to the beach. Barbara loves to fish. Last time we were there 2 months ago, I was watching television at some point. I think it was a rainy day, and we'd come in and I turned the TV on. and it was a fishing show. They show a lot of fishing shows down in Florida. And they were showing, this particular episode of this fishing show was about the best fishing boats in Florida that you can get to go fishing. So I watched it, and the very first one they showed was called a Geno, G-H-E-E-N-O-E. And this Geno was developed by a NASA engineer who actually was up in Tennessee on a rafting trip, and a canoeing trip, was out on a canoe, and it turned over, and he almost drowned. He got pneumonia, he was very sick. And he said, there's got to be a way to create a canoe that won't roll over. So he created the Geno. It's a fascinating boat. It will not turn over. And it's, of course, evolved over time, and so it doesn't look so much like a canoe. It looks more like a shallow boat. It'll actually go into about 5.5 inches of water and remain floating. So it's this incredible boat. And I said, Barbara, look at this. So we got online, looked it up, and we decided to go to the factory and see how they do this. And they were wonderful, and they gave us a tour and showed us the boats, the different models and everything. And so I go, you know, Barbara, we should get one of these. This will be fun. Now, Barbara's owned a boat many years ago. I had never owned a boat. I had no idea what I was talking about. Barbara did an amazing amount of research. She must have looked at hundreds of boats, and she found a boat that she thought was the right one. She contacted the owner, a young man in Lakeland, Florida. And so when we left, about 12 days ago, it was a Wednesday, we got up and left at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we drove directly to Lakeland, Florida, which is just a little south of Orlando, where this boat was. And we bought this boat. And it's a fine boat. It looks like this. That's it. It's a little fishing boat, right? It's got an outboard motor on the back and a trolling motor on the front and a 20-foot poling stick. That platform in the back, it's made to stand on and actually work a pole quietly through the water so you don't disturb the fish. It's quite an art. Barbara also took a boating safety course. I mean, she went all out on this thing and got everything organized for us. All I had to do was drive down and pick up the boat. And we did. And the young man was very gracious and supported us and told us a lot of things. And we hitched the boat up. I had Cheryl put a hitch on my new truck. And we hitched up the boat, and we drove. It was raining that day, but it was fine. We drove to New Smyrna Beach, near where we were going to put it in at Mosquito Lagoon, the redfish capital of the world, the place where more redfish are caught than anywhere else in this lagoon. And it's a rather large lagoon. It includes some wildlife refuge area and such. It's beautiful. It's just this pristine, beautiful place. And this boat was made to go in that kind of water. So we drive it to New Smyrna Beach, and we park it in the parking lot. I get off to unhitch the boat. And the boat's trailer has scratched the holy hell out of my new truck. What the hell is going on? Yes, you're going to hear it. I was beside myself. And Barbara going, we'll get it fixed. We'll get it fixed. Well, I already dinged the truck once, and that was a $2,000 bill. So I'm just not happy about this. I have palpitations. I'm having trouble breathing. You know, my truck, it's just torn up. Okay, so we take the hitch off. It took me hours. You know, it took me days to get through that. So much that the first few days we did not touch the boat again. This was not living up to my expectation of fun. So Barbara came back and spent last weekend with you, and then came back Sunday night, and Monday we went to the beach, and there's a sign up as you're going into the park that says that the boat dock will be closed Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Those are the days you're going to take the boat out. There's a primitive boat dock further down, but Barbara's convinced that that will just take my bumper off. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go on Tuesday, the next day, and we're gonna take the boat out. Okay. Well, in the meantime, I did actually fix the problem with the trailer and the hitch. I went to a specialty bolt shop and got some big washers to put on there to lift up the hitch enough to where it's working out. It's not tearing the already very torn up bumper. I knew you'd like this show. So we get up really early, we buy some bait, and by 6:30, 6:45, we're at the boat dock. And we back the boat down. And it took a few times to get it right and line everything up, but I could look out the back of my truck and see the boat, and so we got it down in the water. Took it off the trailer, got everything together. I parked the truck with the trailer, and off we went in the boat. It was a beautiful day. We just took off. We just started going out into the lagoon. And then we pulled out our charts, and we're going, where are we? These charts are amazing. They tell you where the redfish live. If only you know where you are. So for the next 3 hours, we caught a ladyfish. You don't eat ladyfish. We caught a pinfish, little nothing, and we caught a stingray. Now, after we caught the stingray, we moved to 2 or 3 spots to try to figure out where the redfish are. I learned something else about this boat. It will not tip over, but if there's any sudden movement on it, it will shift in the water. And if you are standing up straight, not holding on anything, you will go in the water. This was not living up to my expectation of fun. So I come back and I start climbing the boat, and Barbara looks at me and says, your hat. I get my hat, I get back in the boat. It's time to go. So we're headed back toward the dock. Different than it was at 6:45 that morning, they are working on the ramp. They're re-asphalting it or whatever they're doing. And there are more than 10 big, macho, construction-type workers with hard hats watching us come in. I have never brought a boat into a dock. I have been on boats with other people bringing it in. I have never actually been driving the boat. Is it called driving? Whatever. And what I'm realizing is I'm slowing down so I don't crash into the dock, that there's a current. And we're not going next to the dock anymore, we're going into the dock. So Barbara, in a massive attempt to try to stave off serious damage, gets up on the bow, reaching out for the dock, and I go, Barbara, I can't do this. She said, then turn. And I did. I not only turned the stick to make the boat go around, but I gunned it. Fortunately, Barbara is more savvy on the boat than me, and she fell into the boat. All these guys are up there watching. On the 3rd try, we managed to get up there, and one of the construction guys came over and said, throw me your line. And we did, and pulled it up, and Barbara got off the boat, and I'm just like cringing at how difficult this is. Little did I know at that moment that it was going to get even harder. I went and got the truck with the trailer. But when the boat's not on the trailer, I can't see anything when I'm backing up with this trailer. There's no boat to see. And of course, this is a nice truck and it's got a camera in the back, but right in front of that camera is the post. All I can see is a post. And they have cut out half of the asphalt and put up orange cones, so I got this much space to get through. And you know, as soon as you can see that trailer from a rearview mirror, it's going sideways. Yeah. Oh, after about 8 times, trying to back that thing up, this big burly guy comes over. Hey, bud, you want me to back that truck up for you? Finally, I looked over at him and said, you know, I've really got to learn how to do this. All right, you go. You learn how to do that. A few more tries, and Barbara came up. She said, you want me to try? Sure, why not? I'm just going to wear pink the rest of my life. Back freaking motor. So Barbara gets in. And I step away. About that time, I heard one of the other workers over there say, okay, I owe you $20. By then, Barbara, in sitting in the truck, realized she couldn't see the trailer either. So I went to the back house, and I picked the trailer up, and I moved it over. Now go straight back! We got the boat in the water, we got the boat on the trailer, we got in the truck, and we left. I was so beat up. I was so emotionally drained. And all those guys were just standing there the whole time. They were having a great time. We went back to the room, and Barbara, without even asking me, listed the boat on Craigslist. My only expectation was that we would have fun, and we did not. So I looked at what we had gone through, and you know, we had treated that morning to catch fish, and we did. What did we do that made this happen? And that's the flaw, because I caught myself. Oh, no, don't say what did you do wrong, because that will hold you in that place of not having what you want. So I changed my question, what do you want? And what I wanted at that point, I mean, I was reducing my expectations to, I just want to have a better experience than that. Barbara's never going near that boat again, is the way she's talking, but we went out the next day, and what we found out at the end of the next day was that the boat ramp was going to be back open. It wasn't going to be closed all that time. And so on Thursday, we're out on the beach. Friday's going to be our last day there. And I said, just listen to me. I want to go back out on the boat. He said, are you kidding? No, I need a better end of my story here. And so we made some adjustments. One thing that we did was we went down to the primitive boat slip and put it in down there. And it went in easy. And we went out and we went fishing in the morning. And this is what happened. We caught our redfish. I love redfish. I stopped being a vegetarian over redfish. It's delicious. And what I realized is that it's okay to have expectations, but don't be delusional that there's not a learning curve to new things. Don't think that just because it's fun, it's not hard. It is hard. Anybody here been owned a boat and realized that it's hard? Anybody want to confess up to me? Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. But I learned that, you know, so I can have my expectations. We had a great time doing that. That was fun. All I had to do was get through the things I didn't know. So in our lives, your life and my life, when something doesn't meet our expectation, the first thing I know is not to give up. But also, don't do that thing where they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Don't do that either. Learn as you go. If you have an expectation that you want something in your life, I believe that's a good thing. I believe that's in alignment with the teachings of Ernest Holmes and the Science of Mind. I want us to have expectations. I just want us to know that there's going to be some learning to do in that process. Because most of the things that we expect requires us to move into some unknown. And it's got to be okay when it doesn't work, so that we can learn more about who we are and how we are to live our lives. So I met my expectation. I had fun. I feel better. Actually, it was when we were driving home that Barbara's son on the phone said, you know, it takes about 10, 12 times of loading a boat up from a ramp like that before you're really comfortable with it. I go, great, would have liked to have known that a week ago. But that's all right, I know it now. I know it now, and I'm okay. And I had a good time. And this afternoon, Barbara and I are celebrating with redfish.
Yeah.
So, it's true for me, it's true for you.
And you're keeping the boat.
We don't know. It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. What's important is that I see the value of what we did. I learned from it, and I'm clear about who I am. I can take a boat out now, you know, and I'm going to know that for the rest of my life. So that the same that is true for me is true for you. Don't give up if your expectation isn't realized right away. Be open to the possibility there's something else to know before you can get to that place. Be resilient. Be intentionally directing yourself toward the thing that you want, no matter what happens. And what will happen eventually, in just the right way, in just the right time, is all of your dreams will be realized. That's the truth. I love you very much. Thank you.